Some of you have asked about the nano lapping film that I've been using and what's my setup. Well, this is a short video for that. I use the Wicked Edge system. This is not the latest, but the model before it, but without the big base. I forget what it's called. I think it's an upgraded Pack 3 or something like that. In any case, these things come as 8.5 by 11 sheets, and these happen to be I think they call it PSA. It's double back taped on the back. And what I did is I had one of those big cutting table things that are fairly inexpensive that you can get at Staples and things like that. But in any case, I basically whittled down the 8.5 by 11 sheet into as many of these that I could get. And I'm sorry I don't remember how many, but you can get quite a few. The price of these things, by the way, are another thing I don't quite remember, but something on the order of 30 to 50% cheaper than any other sources for diamond lapping tape. So anyhow, what I use then is either on my my 1500 diamond grit. It has a glass platen on it. This happens to be 1 micron on here. And I also have a couple sets of these. You can see the glass right there. So it's just a matter of cleaning the glass off. This edge is coming up a little bit. I didn't clean that as well. And then I put, it's a little hard to label these things, and you kind of have to remember them, but this happens to be the 6 micron, this is 3 micron, then I go to the 1 micron, and then I've got some over here that are the 0.5 micron and 0.1 micron. There's a problem with the 0.1 micron with this particular batch with these guys, and it left scratches on my blades. And I called them about it. They didn't know anything about it. They hadn't had anybody complained about it. So anyhow, I pretty much get a mirror finish when I'm down to about 1 micron. Sometimes I get a little bit better results when I go to the 0.5 micron. But even without the scratches, I don't see that much a difference between the 0.5 and the 0.1. What else can I say? So when I use this thing, imagine a knife in here. You cannot go back and forth. You can only go away from the blade. And so what I do is, after I'm done with the diamond, the 1500 diamond, I'll have one of these in each hand, and I do these full-length strokes. Full-length strokes this side, then that side, this side, this side. And I probably only do that about 10 times, where when I'm doing the diamond stones, I think I do up to 30 or 40. But this seems to be all that it takes to do almost all of the polishing that you need to do. And then what I'll do is, I take my light and I'll shine it on the blade so I can really get to see the edge well. And then I come across it with this thing and just clean up any scratches that might have been left there. And then I move on to the next one. But I found that I have not used my Chaucera stones in quite a while now. These seem to take a little bit more work. They're a little messier because they have to be somewhat wet. Well, that's a debatable topic of how wet. But why do something extra when you can just go through your diamond stones, and then very quickly, since it takes so few strokes to get that polish on there. Oh, now remember, the other thing I do on this is I keep, and I've used the 99%, 91% of isopropyl alcohol. If you use lower percentages, it just takes a little bit longer for it to dry off. I like to have it dry when I use the lapping tape on there. Some people use oil. Here's the problem I found with oil is that when I'm inspecting the edge, you got to clean all that oil off. The oil hinders your ability. And why do people use oil? They use it to extend the life of these things. But I'm getting, assuming that I'm not cutting into the tape at all, I have to clean this every time it's used. Like for instance, if I do 10 strokes here, you'll see this gritty buildup on there. That's basically powdered steel. I'm doing this one-handed, excuse me. So then before I do my touch-ups, I'll take this alcohol and that stuff pretty much comes off. And I'm ready to do touch-ups with that. Yeah, so I get about at least 3, sometimes 5. There's a little trick that I do sometimes if I have a really stubborn scratch on here, is that I have these stops. They're actually pieces of rubber cork that I sliced. And that'll hold it fixed in position, and I may just go back and forth like this, and then pull it away and back down a little bit, go back and forth like this, pull it down. The only issue with that is when you do that, you end up scarring this surface a little bit, and it really cuts down the life. So I don't do that all the time, but for really hard scratches, I do that. I suppose the other thing to do would be to go back and coarseness and work it out that way. So there you go. That's it. Wish I could remember the prices a little bit better, but that's what I do, and they're just as good, but much cheaper than like a Wicked Edge. And of course, these guys take all the cutting out of it. You don't have to do any of that. This one, you got to provide a little bit of your own labor, but I don't mind that. So I think it's a good deal for me.